This teaching starts somewhere in Japan when tradition of Zen was really taking fold, and these Buddhist monks would practice the art of making sand mandalas. And so basically a Buddhist monk will spend weeks to months carefully planning and building out this amazing, beautiful, intricate design and artwork and pattern in the sand, and just line after line after line. Monks, various monks, will work, like I said, up to months on one specific sand mandala. And they'll spend all this time working on a sand mandala. And at the moment it is completed, they'll take a special broom and just sweep the mandala right away. And the act of creating the mandala is as much a part of the teaching as the act of destroying the mandala. The energy required to create this mandala doesn't exist in the mandala. It exists in the spirit of the monk. So they're not worried about losing it, storing it. The story I have for us today really reflects how this same spirit, this same teaching can be applied to life. It's a story about the mandala of life. And this story actually happens to be from my life. It's quite funny too. I really hope you enjoy it. The story starts in Ecuador, and I'm in Ecuador and really enjoying things. Things are great. I've been traveling for years now. I'm getting quite well at traveling, a little bit of a veteran, you could say. And I was working for a few online companies as a content writer and also article writer for some online magazines. And so, things are just great. I'm traveling around. I'm staying at some little hotel on, right on the beach, and I'm just spending all day on the beach. And I had my day bag on the beach, and it had my laptop in it, just my office, and sand's getting in the bag, and it's going another day relaxing, and sand's getting in the bag, and I'm going another day and working as well, a little bit, writing inspirations, writing some things here and there. Anyway, sand must have got somehow into the components of the computer, and the computer breaks. So there we go, I just lost my job. And at that point, that hotel became a little expensive if I wasn't going to have any income. So I get on a bus, and I'm heading to Peru. And I'm heading to Peru, so a little bit cheaper in Peru, and I fall asleep on the bus. When I fall asleep, someone happens to steal my bag, and I wake up about 3-4 hours outside of Peru, and I've been robbed. And so now I have nothing and no job, and I don't know, probably like a 120 bucks, something like that. And it was like, wow, this sucks. And I make it to Peru, and get there, and clearly food, stay, things, the money's kind of going, and I'm trying to figure out at this point how I can get a ticket back to the US where I can maybe get a job and start working and end up getting a new laptop and figure things out from there. So I'm at a little computer cabina place, they call them. Basically, you can rent a computer for a couple hours for like $1. And researching flights, talking to some people on Facebook about, maybe somebody would want to buy me a flight. because of the unfortunate things that had happened. Looking through probably Facebook or something, trying to find friends or somebody I could ask for money or a plane ticket to get me back somewhere where I could get a job and make consistent money and maybe buy another laptop or something. All this is going through my head. And at the whole time it's going through my head, I'm just sitting there like, man, this sucks. This all really generally and genuinely sucks. Internet cafe saw me researching flights and decided to start up a conversation with me. It was some, local girl, and so she ended up asking me. She's like, "Oh, you're going home? Like, what are you're leaving?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I broke my computer and then I was robbed in Ecuador and I have no money and no place to stay, so I'm trying to figure out how to leave Peru." And her response was, "Well, you can stay with us." And that made me happy. I said, "Yeah, oh cool, really? I can stay at your house?" And little did I know, her house was actually only 3 mud walls in a really pretty extreme ghetto, not dangerous, but just extreme poverty outside of the city. And she shared those 3 walls in that little space of land in the midst of a whole bunch of other really little houses with her 3 sisters and 4 children. So when I finally end up getting there and seeing the situation, I'm like, oh, okay, well, thinking, all right, maybe I'll be sharing a bed with 6 or 7 people. That could be interesting. And that's not what happened, actually. They introduced me to my bed, which happened to be where it looked like a dog should have been sleeping, and this was actually 3 pieces of plank wood behind the 3 dirt walls in this little back section in the sand, and just some pieces of wood in the sand. So that was what I got invited to, and well, what did I do? I gratefully accepted. I accepted this invitation, and I decided to lay my head to rest on these 3 pieces of plywood in the sand in some North Peruvian ghetto outside of a really wonderful city called Tumbes. Anyway, so I'm sleeping there and I'm staying there, and time starts going on. I start seeing how the family's making their money. She makes about $3 a day and spends $1.50 a day on her traveling expenses back and forth to the city, maybe even $1.80 out of the $3 she makes a day. And then the other sisters made these ices, but then with all the children, pretty much there was enough money to buy bread and rice for all of us. And every single day they invited me to eat this bread and rice that basically was all that their family could eat. And so sometimes I had to split a piece of bread with one of the children because there wasn't enough bread for everybody to get a full piece of bread. Now I at this time completely gave up on even thinking about asking anybody to buy me a ticket, even though I had found about 3 people who were probably pretty willing to at that point buy me a ticket, and just kind of accepted with quite gleefulness the situation I was in, being completely absolutely broke and living with this family of 3 women and 4 children in this little 3-wall mud hut with some pieces of plywood behind it as my bed. And then I actually, started selling the ices for this family as they produced them, as I was kind of the gringo. Maybe I don't look it so much now, but whatever. Clearly I wasn't from Peru, and this was really interesting for everybody to be a part of me being in their little ghetto and you know, they had never seen probably a foreigner stay in that area and stay with them. And so I was just hanging out, and everybody liked talking to me. And so I actually ended up selling probably double to triple the ices that they normally sold, which were amazing, even though I then ate at least half of my profits in consuming those exact same ices because they just were so amazing. We sold them for 30 cents, and they cost probably 20 cents to produce, making a grand total of 10 cents per icy. But everyone was poor there, so what else could we have done? And things kept getting more interesting. I ended up meeting a professor who lived in a little bit of a nicer position, but he taught, and he brought me to the school. I gave a speech at the school, and really just made everybody feel good. Everybody felt good about it. This went on for almost 3 months. About 10 weeks, 2.5 months, I stayed in that situation. Absolutely broke, nothing. Absolutely sleeping on the wood behind this family's house. So eventually, I decided to move on. And I moved on, you know, gratefully said my goodbyes. And they probably thought maybe that was the last they would have seen of me again. I'm gonna get completely into what happened over the next 6 months, but things changed pretty drastically. I ended up, through a friend I had in Lima, meeting a Chilean actress, then got access to another laptop, got promoted by one of the companies that ended up expanding and developing a whole customer service unit within the service they offered that I was a content writer for. I ended up running the customer service office, and then all of a sudden I'm making like 3-4 grand a month in Peru, dating a Chilean actress, and you know, the paparazzi would follow us around. All this is going on. I realized after we had that she got invited to a much bigger city, only about 2 hours away from this other city where that family was, that I should pay them a visit. So I went back to the house with this Chilean actress and a SUV with bicycles in the back, and this is only about 6 months after they saw me leave in ragged, ruggedy clothes. Hadn't showered probably in a couple weeks. I had been sleeping on their planks of wood behind 3 walls. The house wasn't even a full house. This was literally just 3 walls, and I was outside of it on planks of wood. And I come back in this SUV, paparazzi are following us, they're taking pictures, and I get out, I carry these bikes to the house. One of the women's just face lights up with joy and surprise, and they're like, Dios mío, Eric, ¿qué pasó? And what happened? I'm sorry. Eric, ¿qué pasó? What happened? How did your life change so much? And I just smiled and I said, you know, change is. And then let them enjoy the experience of being the celebrities of their neighborhood and having some superstar in their house, and everybody's trying to come around and take pictures and find out how exciting and crazy the situation was. And it was really beautiful. And actually now at this point, I ended up, you know, that obviously that relationship ended, And along with its ending, I actually did just kind of lose this actress, and we stayed together probably about 8 months, but I lost her contact information, and even though we had I started even almost getting into the South American media, and I lost all of those media contacts, and you know, just things that went away. The beauty of the situation was just my constant enthusiasm and appreciation for life, as whatever came into it grew itself into a complete manifestation of its potential, and then was just let go. It was nothing that I needed to hold on to, not even attachments to how I should have felt in one situation or the other. And so what was able to happen was that my life was able to just be filled with these really incredible, beautiful experiences that, you know, most people never get because they're trying to hold on to stuff that they thought they worked so hard for that they must keep it. Like, they must store it in some sort of big storage room or little storage room or whatever they managed to grasp onto, that they must just keep grasping onto that, because if they lost it, then who would they be? I don't know. Could they be some wandering hobo sleeping on 3 pieces of plywood behind a 3 walled mudroom in a Peruvian ghetto? Or could they be a jet-setting significant other of some sort of movie star, flying around the world, staying at 5-class hotels and having the paparazzi follow them? What could we be? Pretty much anything. I mean, whatever goes. So you might also notice I'm actually also now sitting in front of you, telling you this story, was in front of a $12 or $14 million mansion, which I happened to be invited to live here and stay here as long as I liked. And first time I've actually been in a house that's $14 million, and there's a cave in the pool system. It's got its own bar and 2 jacuzzis that have waterfalls and a rock slide and a rope swing and a movie room, and just a lot of space. Also, you know, a lot of stuff. As grateful as I was for the invitation, I decided to take the invitation for about 2 weeks, and I'll be staying here, and should be quite fun. I'll really enjoy it. Well, then I'll have to move on because there's some more pressing issues in South America again that require my attention, especially with the upcoming equinox and a lot of energies in the collective. Everybody's going through these dramatic shifts, and identities are falling and egos are being crushed. And when egos are being crushed and identities are falling, a lot of shit comes up into the ethers, and that shit stays and hangs out in the ethers until there's some, I don't know, like spiritual happening that allows this to be integrated into a greater energy that can maybe dilute it or disassemble it back into raw energy. That's whatever, not the point of this story, though happens to be part of the reason why maybe I'm deciding, you know, we'll just let the mansion hang out and we'll move on. But it still fits into the fact that we manifest our lives like mandalas. And when you create a mandala, the best thing you can do with the beauty and the art and the amazing vibration and manifestation of your energy is wipe it away, wipe it out. Because that vibration stays as you create it. You create it not only in the world, you create it in yourself. and you hold on to that, eventually, it's great. It's great to have something stable and get some stuff and have a place to project more energy out of. But you can only build so much up before you gotta wipe the slate clean, or at least wipe part of the slate clean, to draw new forms. That's what the formless is all about. That's what this absolute consciousness is all about. How many different ways can it express itself and manifest itself in your life and in humanity and in the world and in the universe? So if you're stacking up your mandalas, eventually your backpack's gonna get pretty full, and then you might get stuck in Ecuador, and you might get stuck on that beach, or you might get stuck on those planks of wood. What's gonna happen is you might get stuck somewhere, and then your growth is going to be limited by that position. Of course, you could think you are growing up more stuff, but then what has that stuff grown onto you? Conflicts of identity, responsibilities. No, I have responsibilities. There's nothing wrong with responsibilities. It's wrong. It's allowing our identities, our connection, our attachment to our identities, and this isn't even wrong. If you want to be attached to an identity, go ahead and be attached to identity. Serve that identity. Take full advantage of that identity. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a beautiful thing if you know that that is your true nature. If you know you are truly this identity and this is what you are creating as your flower of life for the greater flower of life, on the plan of life, whatever, then, go fully with that. Be that fully. But if you have any doubts in your mind, don't hold on to things that are going to keep you from expressing yourself and your identity in new ways until those doubts are kind of relinquished and you're more stable and birthed in your truth. More stable and grounded in your truth. So let the extremities of my life, my situations, be an example for how simple or how extreme the situations and experiences of your life can be. Do you want the identity you have? Is that your truth? It's very simple. Just asking, inquiring what your truth is, and is what you're doing and what identity you're presenting your truth. And if not, wipe it out and draw another one into life. And maybe that will be some beautiful, amazing piece of art. But if you are not fully convinced that that's your entire truth, and that's the entire truth of absolute reality of you, then you know what? As beautiful as that piece of art is, you gotta wipe and clear it out again, so you can have space to draw another one. Because space exists. We exist in space. And what we're doing here in life is drawing mandalas. And those mandalas are reflecting us to the world, but only until the moment that they've become complete. And then they stop our ability to reflect our true nature and our higher selves to the world, because they've completed themselves. They must be wiped clean, and we must move on with drawing a new form of that same energy that exists within us. And that new form can rise to completion. It can be swept away. So you can understand the cycle and why life is like a mandala. And why the mandala of life can truly serve you in becoming more content with the expressions that exist and letting go of those things that maybe you've completely experienced, and since they've been completed, are keeping you from completeness. So my friends, I love you so much, and this is becoming a great journey for all of us. It is a great journey. It has been a great journey. I hope the love is shared, and we all continue to enjoy the process of creating and wiping clean our infinite manifestations. Please subscribe if you haven't already. You can also friend me on Facebook if you haven't. It's Dachi Yam Bud. So much gratitude, friends. Let's keep the momentum moving. Let's keep drawing mandalas in life. Namaste.